I want to ask a few questions of you guys before I get started, if you don't mind. Can you guys shout out what state you're from? Okay. Okay, great. How many people, by show of hands, have used generative AI? Okay. How do you use it every day? Have you used it and didn't know you were using it? How many people are on Snapchat? Is that where you were using it and didn't know you were using it? Or no? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You're what? I was not paying attention. I was half asleep. Yeah, it happens, right? And who here, it's your first time in New York? That's it. Everybody else, like seasoned? Great. Well, welcome to New York. I've been here. I went to journalism school at Indiana University. That's my home state. And I graduated, and about the same week I graduated, email came out. So just to say, I've been around a bit. And I've been around a bit because I've stayed flexible, and I've stayed curious, and I've not rejected the next thing coming. So if you want to have a career in journalism, and I hope you do, that's the requirement. You have to stay curious, and you have to know that things are going to change exponentially between now and the time you leave high school and the time you leave college, and by the time you have your first, second, third, fourth, fifth job, second, third, fourth, fifth kid, you know, that kind of stuff. It's all coming for you, just to say. So it's nice to meet you guys. I'm Aimee Rinehart. I work on a team that is leading AI at AP. And I do a lot of stuff around AI. And so my official title is Senior Product Manager AI Strategy. But when people ask me what I do, I say I do AI stuff, because that really, it changes on a daily basis. What I love about journalism, and what I like about this job in particular, is no day is the same. If you like things to be very samey, then journalism might not be for you, but I have a sense that maybe you like things different. You know, not to have the same thing every day. So that's what I get with my job. So for those who don't know, I wish the screen were larger. Can everybody see it in the back? Okay, great. That was a joke. So AP is a 179 years old news agency. We started, how did the business get started? Did anybody know what we did first? What? What's that? That's how we got started. That's what we were started on. But we didn't do news at first. What did we do? Yeah. Well, the style guide. We've done that a long time too. But we were actually, the business came about calling elections. And AP in the, what are you looking for? What do you need?
The battery's about to die.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. AP called elections. That was our first thing, and we still do that today. And so people, I had a friend from Canada who was like, you guys do what? And yeah, we're the official race caller in US elections, all the way down ballot. So anyway, we grew into a news agency for, what did you say? You said yes. So the idea was that a cooperative, why send 3 different newsrooms down when you only really need one, and that one reporter can share with everybody. So we are a not-for-profit cooperative. We are, to my understanding, we are the only news agency that is set up that way. And it is meant to, you know, that AP is meant to be able to go places where other newsrooms can't. And when there's a flashpoint in the US, our members are supposed to share that information with us if we don't have a reporter on the ground. So it's this reciprocal relationship. And again, it's unlike a lot of other news organizations. So we are truly, I think, one of the truly independent newsrooms out there. Our members are our shareholders, and we can't be bought out in that way. What's interesting about AP2 is the volume. We produce 3,000 photos a day. We produce 2,000 stories a day. And what we, yes, do as news, we are a breaking news agency first and foremost. That also means we produce a lot of data every day. And data is really essential in artificial intelligence. So that's the background of AP, and I think it's really important to understand that AP has to be at the center of the conversation around AI just purely because of the volume that we produce. So I came to AP 3.5 years ago on a Knight Foundation grant. What that did was built in a kind of a side unit at AP to experiment and explore around what local newsrooms were doing around generative AI. And so we had no idea what local newsrooms were doing around generative AI, and so we decided to send out a survey. We got almost 200 local news leaders to take the survey, and once we were sitting on this pile of stats, we decided to do a report. We just felt like it was helpful to share what was really happening, how newsrooms were feeling around AI, and this was from September to December of 2021. That's when nobody cared about AI. That's when we would give presentations to people at AP and they would be on their phones scrolling. People didn't care. It sounded a lot like Bitcoin. It sounded a lot like cryptocurrency or the VR, the weird VR headsets. All of it seemed very speculative, and so we didn't really have the attention of people. And what might have changed our trajectory? Anybody? Yeah, anybody? In November 2023. ChatGPT. The reason why I'm standing in front of you now is because of ChatGPT. We were there to meet the moment. But before then, we had this report that came out. Many of the news leaders we saw AI as a recruitment and retention play. And part of that is because when you get somebody who's young and excited, they just came in from journalism school, and they're going to break the next story, but they have to spend the first 2 or 3 hours of their day transposing the community calendar, or the police blotter items, or the grain report. The Ottumwa Courier in Iowa had to have a grain report done every day. Who here wants to do that for the first 2 hours of your day? Yeah, nobody. And it's jobs like that where AI can really help. The tools that I'm interested in building are tools that are meant to share information and not make news. I am not interested in building a tool that creates a news article. I'm interested in helping, I'm interested in getting the PC to work. I'm interested in helping local newsrooms with the staff that remain. Lots of newsrooms have folded, and in that folding, it's expanded the coverage areas for the journalists who are there. So now instead of covering 2 municipalities, they're covering 4, 5, and 6, and they can't make it to all the public meetings because sometimes those meetings overlap, or sometimes the distance between them on the same night means that they can't make it to sorry, I'm distracted because of the PC. They can't make it to all of the meetings. They also shouldn't have to transcribe all the police blotter items. So I'm going to switch to my phone real quick. I think you guys will get the gist of this without seeing all of the giant screen. Are you able to have somebody come in here? Okay, great. That would be awesome. Thank you. And I'll just keep rolling as best I can. Okay. So, and we were surprised. When we spoke with these news leaders, we said, are you interested in AI? And they're like, absolutely. We see this as a retention play so that people, when they come here from J-School, aren't like, oh, I got to do this the first 2 hours every day. They also saw it as a recruitment play so that all of the tedious tasks would be outsourced to AI, or many of them. They also had a willingness to adopt, but often without the resources to do so. And that's where grant funding comes in. That's where universities come in. One of the newsrooms we worked with in Puerto Rico, El Vocero de Puerto Rico, said that she relies on university support and projects like ours to help build in innovation. Why might innovation be difficult to do in a newsroom? Anyone? Yell it out. Anybody? What's that? They're stuck in their ways? Yes, atrophy. People are used to doing things. Nobody wants to be told, hey, you can take a different way home. It's like, no, I don't want to take a different way home. So people are stuck in their ways. The other thing, too, is newsrooms are on a deadline. They are thinking about today's story. They're not thinking, how can we do today's story better? They're just like, I just have to meet my deadline. So that's another reason. The other reason too is really since I've graduated from college, news has been in a financial free fall. So it's not in a growth mindset. It's not like, hey, what could we do if we only had $1 bajillion? We have no dollars, so we try and do the best we can with very little. And again, that's where AI can really come into play. AI is cheap. Right now, it's inexpensive and it's driven by language. So you, me, we're all programmers now. So I think that's an exciting time, and I think that can really help local newsrooms a lot. So then ChatGPT exploded. So that report was published in March of 2022. ChatGPT exploded in November of 2022. And in the spring of 2023, I was talking to Nick Diakopoulos, who's a researcher he's a professor at Northwestern University, and he wrote the book on automating the news. I think that's actually the name of the title. And I said, gosh, wouldn't it be cool to know what newsrooms are doing now? Because I bet their story would be different after ChatGPT. He said, let's test that out. So we released another survey, and almost 300 people around the world who work in news, and again, this is self-selected, 81% said they're knowledgeable in generative AI. Most of you, if you took a survey, probably would not say you're not knowledgeable, right? We would all say, yeah, I've encountered it. But 74% said they use generative AI in their organization's work. And we thought, wow, that's pretty high. Does anybody know or think they know the one of the most adopted tools that includes AI that journalists use? Yeah. Transcription. Why is transcription? Why? Yeah, so the previous transcription, it took hours to transcribe a 15, 20-minute interview. Now it takes, these services a few minutes to do that, to process, at about an 80% accuracy rate. I will still take that. And I still think, even after all of the exciting chatbots that are out there, transcription is one of the best uses of AI because it solves a true need that journalists have. Now I hope your generation never has to deal with transcribing the way that we all did. That's just something we shouldn't have to do. And to me, that's an exciting, one exciting technology that journalists now have at their disposal. Of the 300 people, 70% said they wanted to use it for content production, for text. I'm not a huge fan of using AI for content production because generative AI you're not sure what you're going to get. The output is based on probability, and if you're a newsroom like AP can't be kind of right most of the time. We have to be right all of the time, and we can't take that risk. Plus, with 2,000 stories we're producing a day, which one of those stories is going to be wrong? We would have to kind of pull through all of that, and that would be a big drag on resources and not a workflow efficiency, as many of the people taking the survey seem to think AI might be. I'm only sharing this slide for really the top bar for the strategies for responsible use. 20% of the survey takers said not using it was the most responsible use, the strategy. And I thought, oh my gosh, here we are again. I was here for the internet revolution when everybody folded their arms and said, we're just going to ignore it. It's a fad. It's going to go away. And guess what? It ate all of our advertising revenue, our classified ads, our real estate listings. It removed our source of distribution power. Newsrooms no longer are the center of distribution. So this is a problem, and the 20% are the people I want to speak with and try and get them on board to, if not using AI, at least use it to the point where you know where what its weaknesses are and what your limits will be in your newsroom. So at AP, we're lucky enough to have 3 people on our AI team, and the 3 of us are working on making internal tools that solve the newsroom's needs. One of which is monitoring podcasts. Our democracy team said we are drowning in podcasts. We can't listen to all of this. Could you guys take an RSS feed from the podcasts, upload that, automatically transcribe it, generate a summary, and put that in as an alert to us either by Slack or by email to let us know that this is something we should listen to or we should take pause in. And what was great about that is it put us in receivership of an idea. It's so important when you're building tools or thinking about tools that somebody comes to you with a problem, and thank goodness they didn't say, could AI solve this? They just said, this is our problem, and we thought, oh, we know of a potential solution. We think AI, or at least automated triggers, will be involved. But we came up with this very quickly, and within 5 days they had this podcast monitor. What was really cool is AP used it to work on a story about Kash Patel, who had been in 100 podcasts. Nobody has that time, and in a short amount of time, to listen to all of that. So we used AI to pour through his comments, his public comments on what he thought of the FBI, and they broke a story on this, which was really great. This also, too, every week, AP honors our colleagues for the best of the week. What was the best story and why? And this was the second nominated best of the week that week, and it was the first time a product person, I think, was mentioned in the best of the week, which I think is exciting. And so for people who are thinking news, I don't necessarily want to be a reporter. Product, I think, because of the importance of tools like AI, product is quickly rising in importance in a newsroom. And so and this is one of those examples of that happening. This is our editorial assistant, and basically we took a few of the experiments that we were working on and created a website with using OpenAI's API to plug into the back end and to generate initial translations, write-through translations, headlines, SEO headlines, inline links, bullet point summaries, and 100-word summaries. We're also asking people and this sits outside of our content management system, so it's not it's not integrated into our systems yet. And we ask people to rate the headline or rate the quality of each item so that we can improve the output each time. One thing working on this through prompting, we were trying to prompt headlines to get better and summaries to get better. It really had us unravel how we know how to write a headline and how we know how to write a summary. And so it was our kind of I had to go back 30 years to be like, how do I know how to write the headline? And what are the ingredients of that so that I could use what I know about how to write a headline as a human to explain to the technology how it's written. And I think anybody who's able to explain your process to a chatbot and interact with it in that way, you'll get a better outcome. Is anybody in their newsroom using AI right now? Yeah, what are you using it for? Okay. Has anyone been forbidden from using AI in their schoolwork or in their newspaper? Yeah, totally forbidden. Can't use it. Do you follow that? You do? Okay. All right. Anybody else? Okay, nobody else is forbidden. Very exciting. Good for following. I think it's important. The thing is, you won't be able to know how to prompt if you don't know how to write. So it's good to get this, because the more I use AI, the more I see that it's not very good still. But it can help if you're overloaded on things and you just need to get a first draft in. So we build tools for internal at AP, but we also build external tools for members and customers and for people in our cohort that was grant funded. So this is a project I'm working on. Before I came to AP to work on AI, I trained journalists how to identify, verify, and report on mis and disinformation. And so part of that was taking a verification process through user-generated content. User-generated content is kind of a wonky term for what people post online. And if Frank in Dublin says that he posted this in the middle of Dublin, can I find out who Frank is, that he was the one who posted it, and that it was indeed Dublin. There are processes you can take to find each one of those elements to it, and this dashboard bakes that in, similar to what you saw with the AP's AI editorial assistant, where we have a bunch of other programs running in the background, and it's running an API, which is a system that you literally plug into, if that makes sense. So here you can analyze a post or a file, text. We have a plagiarism checker, and analyze image by URL, and also what's trending. The AP team wanted to know what was trending. Like, why come up with the solution for a piece of content that no one's confused about? But if something is circulating and people are unsure, was this Dublin, was this not? We at least have some information that it is trending maybe on X or on Instagram, and that we can not only clarify what's happening in that post, but maybe even post it on those social handles to explain to the public what's happening. So here's an example of the toolbox and the things that people can do that are not related to just one image, but you can do searching. You can search Trendalizer for what's trending on social media across a bunch of different platforms. I think we have about 20 platforms in there. We also have a chat bot that people can interact with, but we have this user agreement to remind people that AI tools can increase in efficiency, or it can increase efficiency and enhance work, but it can also lie to you and come up with really strange outputs that maybe don't adhere to your editorial guidelines. The other thing, somebody mentioned AP Style Book. Does everybody know what AP Style Book is? Yeah. It's if it's in your high school newsroom, it's often in your college newsroom, it's often in the newsroom that you'll end up working in. And people who went to college and had one, they're very tethered to that the rest of their life. Like, I love my AP Style Book from way back when, but it basically sets standards in newsrooms, and it's ubiquitous in US newsrooms in particular. And so we have a new chapter in the Style Book on how to cover AI and what not to do in it. One of the reasons we wanted to do this was when we did research back in 2021 with local news leaders. We said, hey, would you guys like training on how to for your reporters on how to cover AI across every beat? And they said, well, that's not happening here. That's happening in Silicon Valley. And I said, oh, wow, that's interesting. Do you have a bank or a police station or a hospital or a school in your area? And they said, well, yeah. And it's like, chances are they are making decisions based on technology that promised them, to solve crime, to get payments made faster for hospitalizations, that kind of stuff. But the unintended consequences of that are sometimes people don't get the treatment that they need, or people are over-policed or under-policed in a certain area because of an algorithm's decision-making. So we wanted people across every board to be able to cover this. So if you're a reporter covering business, you need to know AI. If you're a reporter covering health, you need to know AI. Very similar to when the pandemic happened and everybody was concerned about it. A reporter at CNN said, everybody now is a COVID reporter. It doesn't matter what your beat was, COVID has touched down on your beat, and that is very similar to AI. And if power uses AI, you need to be able to speak truth to power. You need to know how AI works at a very basic level to be able to get in and ask the questions to people who might be using AI. So we also have some interest, I think some good short form videos on the AI chapter and access to the Style Book for a month if anybody is interested after this chat. So that's how AP is thinking about AI. That's how we're using it in our external tools and internal tools. I'm also taking a lot of inspiration from very small newsrooms. So if you think, oh, this doesn't apply to me because we have a small newsroom, actually, this is your moment. This is the small newsroom moment. Again, these tools are on sale. They're driven largely by language. So if you have both of those at your disposal, just a little bit of money and the ability to prompt, you can have access to helping this get problematic content. And what I mean by problematic content is not bad content, but content that is just tying you up every day. Maybe it's the school lunch menu, and there are ways that you can automate that and automate the formatting of that so you don't have to sit around and do that all the time. So one country that is really, or one region that is really leading the way in AI for news are the Nordic newsrooms. This is an image of Aftonbladet. It's a Swedish tabloid publication. Has anybody seen this before? Okay, yeah. This little guy would fly around the screen and answer questions that people had about the EU elections. It was so popular that they redid it for the US elections. But they, again, are far and ahead of most newsrooms. They are investing, they have the money to do it, they're experimenting, and it's a very sharing culture. They share everything. If anybody's traveled to this region, you know that their public transit is amazing. They have agreed as a people to share things, and I think part of that is the extension into their newsrooms with what they're doing and resourcing. The Baltimore Times is a Black publication in Baltimore, and the person who's running it, her name is Paris Brown, and she started one talk that she gave about her experimentation with an apology that she wasn't from a traditional news background, which to me was like, that's what we need. We need more people who don't have a traditional news background to really think differently about this space. But she is an innovator at heart. She comes in and sees what she can do. She thanked ChatGPT she thanked God from stage for ChatGPT. She said ChatGPT was a great editorial assistant, was a great organizer, and produced an image like this. Martin Luther King's estate is notoriously guarded about the release of his public image, and she wanted to be able to put him on the cover to commemorate him. She created 4 covers. This is just one, and she sent that out to her community, and it helped again tell the story in a way that also fit her budget and her time frame. Oftentimes, when she needs an image now, not next week. And ChatGPT's DALL-E delivers within minutes for pennies. So that is it's really been helpful for her. She also uses it for back office organizing, event planning, all kinds of stuff. So it's been really helpful for her, and what I like about her too is she shares all of her experiments. The Haitian Times serves the Haitian diaspora, and the person who leads it is Vanya Andre, and she is an experimenter at heart. She jumped in with AI with both feet, and she uses OpenAI's GPT's functionality, and that's like a $30 a month charge to use GPTs. But what you can do is create your own instance of, I would just say, a very small language model. You can upload up to 20 documents and customize those outputs. So how does she use that in action? She has a PDF of AP Style Book, and she also has the Haitian Times own style book. And she uploads it in there and puts an article in there, and it reformats it according to the 2 style books she has in there. It reflects the tone and the style of the articles that she wants. It also identifies Haitian Creole, which is notoriously difficult to reproduce in ChatGPT and the other commercial models because they just haven't ingested enough content that is Haitian Creole. So she gets incredible outputs from this and uses it in other ways to fortify her publication, especially around translations. The Hearst Dev Hub, Hearst Newspapers, has become a real powerhouse in AI and AI production. The guy who runs it is Tim O'Rourke. He's at the San Francisco Chronicle or in the San Francisco office, and he leads a team of journalists that are driving local news innovation, but best of all, they share their experiments. What they've done is they've created, they've really capitalized on their data set. They had a ton of data around restaurants and reviews. So then they created Chowbot, and it would help you, it would give you advice on where to eat in San Francisco. They did something similar. They created Kamalabot, that because Kamala Harris is from the Bay Area. They've had decades of reporting on her because she's been a public figure for decades. There was some criticism that they didn't have a Trump bot, but they just simply didn't have the same amount of data to have a quality output for a Trump bot. So they stuck with the Kamala bot. They have voter guides. They have a tracking. They tracked U.S. Drug overdoses. They had something called the worst airports for flight delays. Probably very popular, right? If you're looking for airports to avoid. So again, they took what they were sitting on in terms of data and just reproduced it for the public. So this may go terribly because the presentation on the computer has been a little wonky. But this is a video it's a 33-minute video. And it's created by Sheila Cornell, she didn't create the video. She wrote a 4,000-word article. She's a professor of the Stabile Center for Investigative Journalism at Columbia Journalism School just across the way. And this person made a 33-minute video based on that 4,000-word article, and he did it for about $22. So just to say, you can get into this stuff easily, and you are able to make multimodal content in a very easy way. Multimodal means it's text, it can be video, it can be audio, it can be visual. So here we go, we'll see. So again, they have the disclosure that there's AI, generative AI that helped make this. So if the audio were working, it would, the audio is synthetic as well, and that's about $12 a month to make the audio. But all of this illustration and rendering is through prompting, and he used the tool Midjourney for that. There are other colors. Let's see here. But it goes on and on. But I hope that gives you inspiration that this stuff doesn't cost a lot of money. He's not a developer. He did this all through prompting. He did this all through prompts. Let's see here. I knew we'd have a problem. Let's see here. Okay. I'm trying to get this into presentation mode. Okay. This is an example of this website, El Toque, serves the Cuban and exile population. And the person who runs it, Jose Nieves, uses all kinds of AI. He uses it for translation. He uses it for transcription. And he has created something like this that looks at what is the currency exchange so that people who are trying to exchange dollars for euros get the right or the most accurate price or the best price for the exchange rate. But he's using it again, to fortify his publication and to give services that his audience is requesting. I really like this guy, Hank Sims, runs a website called Lost Coast Outpost in Northern California, and he decided to use, he wanted to bring public agendas in automatically to his website, and so he has it summarized there, and he calls the summary LocoBot, so people know that it's a bot, and he says this costs him about $7 a month to do, but what I really like is he said you can read it just straight up English, or you can have it as a conversation between Beavis and Butthead. He has 49 other personas. There's a pirate. You could speak pirate. You could speak Scooby-Doo, that kind of stuff. But I think first of all, it's his website. He gets to do whatever he wants. But I do like that bit of whimsy with technology because it doesn't always have to be serious. It could have some fun. And so this bakes a little bit of that in. Have you heard of Nieman Lab? Do you guys read Nieman Lab at all? It's an industry publication in the US. It's out of Harvard. And so when they do something, I'm like, I notice it. If anybody, do you guys run websites for your high school? Do you guys have hero images? that you have to, like the big image on the homepage that's like 600 by 900 pixels? Okay. Well, at a lot of newsrooms, they have that horrible image, that horrible size image, and it's really hard to find content to fill that. And so what Nieman Lab has done is they use Midjourney to create images like this one to illustrate a story. It used to be that they would use the same image again and again and again, and the problem with that is Google searches deprioritize that article then. By putting a new image up, it prioritizes the article. What I really like in terms of transparency on this is, I think they've dropped this, but when they first started, they would in the tagline mention that the tool used was Midjourney and the prompt that they used to get that image. And I think those levels of transparency help the readers, it helps to keep that trust with the readers that this is a generative AI image and this is the prompt that we used. So, anybody, how are you using AI? Anybody using it? Somebody said transcription, but for you? Oh, okay. It's good with headlines. So you use it for headlines. Do you often change a word or a few things in it, or do you just go to press with it? Yeah, so you edit it. I've never found a headline that came out perfect. I'm always tweaking something. So I think in some ways you can use it as a feedback loop, right? But if you know your weak spot you said is generating headlines. Some people, it's like, how do I craft a good opening to this? When one of my first jobs out of college was being a police and fire beat reporter, and I worked Tuesday through Saturday, and so that Saturday shift I covered a lot of county fairs because we were in the middle of a 4-county area. And by like the 3rd county fair, it was like, oh, this is killing me, and I've got a bigger report I'd like to do. I would talk with my editor if this were now, but why not have a few quotes from that county fair, an explanation of what the weather was like, who won, the pageant, and then ask ChatGPT to craft a first draft of that story. Again, you've done the reporting. You're just asking ChatGPT or another tool, Claude, Gemini, to write a first draft of the story that maybe takes some of the weight off of your shoulders, and you can go on to doing reporting that you like. Anybody else? Yeah. Oh, yeah. What tool do you use for that? Yeah. That does a great job. Notebook LM, it's a Google product. That's new-ish. And it's free for now. And it does a really good job with one document or many documents. It will also create a podcast from your documents. Have you listened to it? Yeah. I encourage you not to use these tools once, because by the 5th time you hear the podcast, you'll hear, right, great, and you're like, oh my God, this is so synthetic, I can't stand it. And once you start to hear that, you'll be attuned to hearing it in other places too. And now that I'm, every now and then I'll be maybe waiting for a table at a restaurant, watching a TV, and I'm like, that is synthetic images. I know that's not right, because you just start to attune yourself to it. But I think Notebook LM is really interesting to try out and free. Anybody else? Yeah. How your student what?
Student spaces.
Uh-huh.
So our graphics team actually did like a centerfold for our Christmas special, where they had like sort of like fantasy student spaces. They used AI to sort of reimagine our student spaces. So that was pretty cool. Like, put in new furniture and stuff like that.
So your team used AI to create a new space because you want new spaces for new spaces. I used ChatGPT for that too, because I wanted to rearrange my bedroom, and I gave it my exact dimensions, where the window, and I live in New York, so I gave it the dimensions of the window and the closets and the door, and it gave me, 4 closets, 2 doors, 5 windows, and I was like, oh, suddenly I'm in a penthouse, and I would love that rendering, but that was not my reality, and I couldn't get it to do it any other way. So did you like the images? Oh, yeah, Firefly. Yes, so they use the AI that comes with Photoshop. Interesting. Anybody else? Yep.
Advisor, I used it to proof for Aimee style.
Oh, how does it do?
It's pretty good, but I've caught errors and I'll be like, I don't think that's actually right. And then I'm like, oh yeah, you're right.
Are you using ChatGPT? I think they've ingested the 2014 edition. And sometimes maybe it's just wrong. But the style book when I was in college was about this thick. It's about this thick now, so there's just a lot that's been added, maybe possibly too much, I might suggest. But as an advisor, what are you telling your students about the using generative AI? Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I'm for using it, but I think it's not going away. But I want to know how to use it best.
Right. How to use it best. Yeah. Anybody else? Uses? Yep.
So I'm an advisor, and my students have projects, and so they will do SMART goals. They'll put in their goals,
Mhm.
their timeline, and they'll crank out, a 6 or an 8 week plan with action item steps, and that has helped put them on impact. So just self-management.
Yeah. My boss asked me to fill out my goals for the year, and I took a statement of work we have for a project we're working on, and I said, please write up my 5 goals and tether percentages to it, and that was done. You said that you didn't like writing headlines. I hate writing goals because I think it's, well, I know what my goals are. Yeah. For it to be used like iterating on a document. I think iterating is a good use of ChatGPT. It can be a good use. I use it for that. I have a 13-year-old who wanted to just write his whole script from his speech from that, and I was like, come on, man. Like, this is, you want you in there. And I invariably think it doesn't understand how funny I am. It doesn't get my sense of humor. It doesn't know all the things that I know. And so I like to write a first draft. I try and ask it to tighten it up. I do speak with a lot of different words, and maybe I don't need all those, and then I almost always go back and edit on top of that. And, well, yes, I'll leave it there. But anybody else using it, not using it, or have seen an interesting use case? Okay. Oh, yeah. Yep.
If you're incorporating AI in community, how can you ensure that it doesn't take away all the personal touch?
Right. I think staying away from creating articles with it. Again, the 4th county fair that you cover, maybe it's fair to use AI, but on something that you really care about, I think it's something that you should be writing yourself. That's just my experience. It's great for school lunch menus, school calendars, community events, anything that you just don't have the time to put attention to and would rather write something else. And again, too, you guys are developing your writing skills. And I'm 53. I continue to build on my writing skills. It's not like I learned them all by the time I was done with college and that was it. I learn new words every day. I have new experiences every day, and that fortifies my writing. And I just think your humanness, in the age of AI, your humanness is your most important asset. And really the only thing I think that's truly valuable, will be truly valuable to companies, is your humanness. So you need to work on what that means to be a human, if that makes sense. Okay, I think the next one is, have you encountered AI apps? I can also change this to, do you have questions for me? Yeah.
My question was just what's your advice on how to use AI acknowledgments when you do use it?
How to,
What's your advice on how to give AI acknowledgments when you do use it?
Oh.
Because I know you specified one publication, being as specific as giving the prompt
Yep.
that they use. What's your advice?
So what are the transparency suggestions or recommendations for your audience to say that you use generative AI? So AP started using what I call baby AI back in 2014, and it's called natural language generation. It's taking a template, it's taking a spreadsheet and putting it into a template and generating a news brief. We did that with earnings reports. We did that with minor league baseball reports. Neither one of those are going to win a Pulitzer Prize. Neither one. They are meant to purely informational. And so at the bottom of that, we have a tagline that talks about the technology we used and the spreadsheet we used. And I think that is fair because it's wholly generated through a template. I think, we don't say this photo was cropped by Photoshop. We've never said that. The Nordic newsrooms, every newsroom in Sweden has agreed to transparency measures around the use of generative AI if it fundamentally changes the piece of content. So if your article was written with generative AI, you should probably say that. If a headline was written with the help of generative AI, I don't think that that's a transparency measure. In fact, that level of transparency might cause alarm for people when really it is just a headline to get you into the story. Maybe Apple News wishes they would have used some kind of flagging for its summarization. The bullet point summaries, they really messed that up and then took it down. Anybody? I just want to see the time. Okay, we have 15 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say GPT-0, that's what I use. But again, when I work with a GPT iteratively, GPT-0 almost never catches it. Like once I start iterating on it, it says it's mostly human. So I don't know. Are you sensing that people in your newsroom are using it? Yeah.
But yeah, I have seen it.
Okay.
I don't know if we've let any.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I just realized we're done at 4:15, which is now. Anyway, do vibe coding. Get in there and practice. You're only going to know your limits and where you shouldn't go if you're not using it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Bye.